It's not easy being a Democrat in Pensacola. Is it lonely being left-wing in northern Florida?
Very lonely, very lonely. This is essentially lower Alabama.
James Scaminacci is a particular rarity here on the Gulf Coast of northern Florida. He supported Bernie Sanders for president, Hillary Clinton's left-wing rival for the Democratic presidential nomination. Florida's electorate becomes ever more conservative as you travel north.
The South is primarily Democratic. You have a lot of retirees, a lot of money, a lot of wealth. As you move up the state to the central part, it's more cosmopolitan, more of a mix, a lot of college campuses. Then when you move into the Panhandle, our part, northwest Florida, you got retirees, you got a large military presence, much more conservative.
Scaminacci has put aside his bitterness at Sanders' loss and is now working to get out the vote, but he's not exactly fired up.
Where's this country going to end up? There are existential crises in this country that have to be addressed. And you should be talking about it every day. And she doesn't.
Across the country, this lack of enthusiasm is of concern for the Democrats. In Florida, early voting among African Americans is down from previous years. But there was no lack of enthusiasm among this congregation in Pensacola on the Sunday before the election.
How can you complain that that crazy person may get in the office if you won't go to the vote to do something about it?
Back at the beach, the mood is jubilant at a rally for former Republican presidential nominee, now Senate candidate Marco Rubio.
I've never seen, before the signs were available for Trump, there were homemade Vote Trump signs, people making them themselves. They were so eager to campaign for Trump.
Here in northern Florida, they're used to being forgotten about, upstaged by the glamour of cities in South Florida like Miami. And that sense of being ignored by an East Coast political elite deepened in the election of 2000, when many news outlets made an early call for Florida, Al Gore over George W. Bush. Those here feel that the networks had simply forgotten that cities like Pensacola in the north are in a different time zone. Their polls close 1 hour later.
In the year 2000, we were what put George W. Bush over the top.
Polls say that Donald Trump has to win Florida's 29 electoral college votes if he's to become president. So on Tuesday, it's worth remembering that if Clinton emerges the beneficiary of an energized Latino vote when the polls close in South Florida, everything may change an hour later once the votes here in the north have been counted. Shihab, Rattansi, Al Jazeera, Pensacola, Florida.